UBKB's John Lewis says it's gonna be business as usual when he defends his title against Joe Clarke. Susan Cingari here from Love MMA, where every fighter has a story. And each week on this YouTube channel, I bring you those stories. So what are you waiting for? Please subscribe. Joining me today across the pond is John Lewis, who is fighting Joe Clarke in November. How are you today, John?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. So, some delays with COVID. How has that been affecting you mentally? And bring our viewers up to date on what's going on over there.
I suppose COVID is the same wherever we are in the world, really, setting people back in their day-to-day life. But in terms of boxing, in terms of training, in terms of using gyms, it makes things very awkward. I suppose at the moment, a lot of my training is happening on my own, without the use of gyms, without the use of sort of trainers, for the lack of social distancing. Training's been pretty lonely so far.
So you're not training at a gym right now, because some of the gyms have been opened in the U.S.
Yeah, gyms were opened, I think, no more than a month ago here. So up until then, training was without the use of a gym.
How do you deal with the fact that the fight is postponed mentally? Because the mental game is such an important aspect of the fight game.
Yeah, agreed. In combat sports, we try and peak for our event. So we put together a training camp right before our fights, nowhere between sort of 6 to 10 weeks. With these sort of shows and dates put onto these shows, we get ourselves going, we get ourselves in sort of routine of training just to be told the show's cancelled. So it does put you off a little bit with your training camps.
I actually spoke to your opponent recently, and he was agreeing with that same idea. He found it difficult kind of mentally to get back in the game because of COVID, and we're just getting sort of back in the game over here in the USA. What is the game plan for the fight then?
Well, I don't want to give too much away because I'm sure Joe will be watching, but, I treat all my fights the same. I sort of play it as it comes. I don't underestimate who I'm in the ring with, so yeah, as any fighter, I'll give it my all.
Stu Armstrong told me you are a power puncher and have a second sense for perfect timing.
I'm not sure about a second sense, probably just a lot of ring experience and being able to read fighters. It's a knack some people pick up, some people don't. I suppose I'm just blessed with the sense of being able to read people. In terms of power punching, well, the proof's in the pudding, really. 3 fights, 3 wins by knockout.
As a matter of fact, your first 2 fights didn't go past the first round, as I recall, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Can you break those down for us?
There's not a lot to break down. I suppose if you put both fights together, there was no more than about sort of 60 seconds work. But like I just said about Joe, I didn't get in there pushing for that. I was just sort of seeing how the fight goes, trying not to make mistakes myself. And I suppose the fight just went in my favour. I got those shots off at the right time.
This is your first title defense. How is that playing into the mental game? Are you nervous at all?
I suppose the pressure's on me now, the one defending the title. But I suppose no more nerves in any fight. I hear a lot of fighters say, I'm not scared of this and I'm not scared of being punched. You are, of course you are. And if you're not, then there's something wrong with you. But those nerves only work to your advantage. They keep you sharp. They keep you motivated through training. And nobody wants to lose. So, yeah, those nerves are good.
Do you have any pre-fight rituals before the fight?
No, not really. I give myself a haircut the night before just so I feel fresh, but that's about it. No other rituals.
Okay, fair enough. How did you get into bare knuckle boxing?
I didn't even think it was something that existed, I suppose, legally. And it was only through the use of Facebook it started becoming advertised on my wall and whatnot. I paid a lot of attention to it for about 6 months before I even bothered looking into getting involved. And from being out of glove boxing for about 5 years before that, I saw it as an opportunity really just to give myself a go at the sport again.
Speaking of gloves, that's an important question to ask. You fought both with gloves and without. Which do you think is safer?
They're both as dangerous as each other. I mean, it can be argued for and against either way. Different injuries come from different sports, and I don't compare glove boxing to without gloves. It's like comparing football to rugby. They're two completely different sports, and they are. So different injuries come from different sports. They both can be dangerous.
What are the rules for your bare knuckle boxing event in this promotion? Because it's UBKB. So tell us a little bit more about that.
A lot of the rules are very similar, you know, in terms of like judging and scoring. We've still got judges, we've still got a referee, there's still medics outside the ring. The big difference is obviously no gloves. However, we've still got our hands bandaged. That's not for protection of our opponent, more protection for ourselves. And from that, really, you probably find the damage caused in bare knuckle boxing is a lot more superficial. It's a lot more skin deep as such. You get bruises, you get swelling, you get cuts. That's the big difference.
Thanks to BKFC's David Feldman, we finally have bare knuckle boxing over here in the U.S. Some of the U.S. viewers in the beginning, that was the big problem with Mr. Feldman trying to get it legalized, thought bare knuckle boxing was just too brutal. What's the biggest misconception you think people have about the sport?
I can only speak for myself and what I thought of it before the sport. You know, I think the safety aspects behind it is probably what concerns people more than anything. But it was no different to when MMA first started. You know, it was too brutal. There were going to be too many injuries, so on and so forth. MMA as a sport in itself has evolved. You know, it started with no gloves. It started with a very similar things as bare knuckle. They brought in the 4-ounce gloves and particular rules to keep fighters safe. The same thing's happening with bare knuckle over here, and I'm sure in the US. You know, it's like any sport. It evolves, and people take precautions to keep people safe.
Have you ever thought about fighting in the U.S. promotion BKFC?
I think for every fighter, you know, to travel overseas is maybe a little bit of a dream. It's something they'd love to do. So, yeah, if that opportunity arose, and yeah, I'd probably bite their hand off, really.
What do you like to do in your free time?
I'm quite an outdoorsy person. I like sort of walking, camping, all them sort of things, keeping myself fairly active. If I'm not doing that, I'm normally with my mum and dad and my family, just sort of relaxing at home.
What would your dream fight be if you could fight anyone in the world?
Funny enough, Stu Armstrong asked me this, and my answer hasn't changed. Rocky Marciano was a glove boxer, obviously many years ago, and like I said to him, I wouldn't come off very well against Rocky, but to be able to meet or fight someone of that sort of level and in that era would be something I'd be interested in.
All right. Before we go today, is there anything else you want to add, John? And please give a shout out for your social media handles, and if you want to thank your sponsors, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Obviously, UBKB has looked after me from the beginning, and I'm sure they'll continue to do so. And that's it. That's all I've got to say. So, thank you.
For more information on this fight, check out the official website, ubkb.uk. I also want to thank Stu Armstrong for setting up this amazing interview. We're going to be doing more because we like this organization, and we like interviewing boxers over in London, bare knuckle boxers over in London and England. All right, help a girl out. I need subscribers. Help John out. Share this video. Leave a comment. Hit that smash button. Subscribe to us. And I wish you good luck on your fight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.